slightly different in nature, a little bit girlier. Once there was a king who had 12 daughters, each more beautiful than the last. They slept together in one large room where their beds were all lined up in a row. In the evenings, after they were all tucked in, the king would shut the door and lock it tight. But when he came back each morning to unlock the door, he would find that his daughter's shoes had been worn through from dancing, and no one understood how this could be happening. So the king let it be known that whoever found out where his daughters went dancing at night could choose one of them as his bride and become king upon the king's death. But if anyone who came forward failed to solve the mystery after 3 days and 3 nights, he would lose his life. Before long, a prince came forward and took on the dangerous challenge. He was well received, and in the evening he was shown to a room just outside the princess's bedchamber. There a bed was set up for him, and he was told to watch closely to see where the girls went dancing. And to prevent them from doing anything in secret or from leaving their bedchamber to go elsewhere, the king left their door open. But the prince's eyelids were like lead, and soon he fell fast asleep. When he awoke the next morning, all 12 girls had been out dancing, and their shoes stood there tattered with holes in their soles. And so it went on like this for the second and third night, and thereafter he was mercilessly beheaded. Still, more princes kept coming, all volunteering to take on the risky test, and they all lost their lives. Now, one day, it so happened that a poor soldier, whose wounds kept him from ever serving again, was headed to the town where the king held court. On his way, an old woman approached him and asked where he was going. "I don't really know," he answered, adding in jest, "I'd almost like to try to find out where the king's daughters are dancing their shoes to pieces and become king myself." "That isn't so difficult," said the old woman. "Just avoid drinking the wine they bring you in the evening, and then pretend you're fast asleep." Then she gave him a special cape and said, "When you drape this over your shoulders, you'll be invisible and able to follow the girls unnoticed." As soon as the soldier heard this good advice, he became serious about the matter. He took heart and went before the king to put himself forward as a suitor. He was as graciously received as the others and given regal clothing to wear. At bedtime he was led to his room, and as he prepared to go to bed, the eldest daughter brought him a glass of wine. But he had fastened a sponge under his chin, and he let the wine flow into it without swallowing one drop. Then he lay down, and after a little while began to make snoring sounds as if in the deepest sleep. The 12 princesses heard him and giggled. The eldest said, "Here's another one who'll lose his life." Then they got out of bed, opened their wardrobes, trunks, and boxes, and took out their most splendid clothes. They got ready in front of their looking glasses and frolicked around with glee about going dancing. But the youngest one said, "I don't know, you all are so happy. I have a really weird feeling about this. I think something awful might happen to us." "You silly goose," said the eldest, "always afraid of something. Have you forgotten how many princes have already come and tried in vain? I didn't even really need to give the sleeping potion to this one. That oaf wouldn't wake up if a tree fell on him." When they were all ready to go, they went to check on the soldier. His eyes were closed and he did not stir one bit, so they thought they were safe. Then the eldest went to the bed and tapped on it, whereupon it sank straight down into the ground. One after the other, they followed her down through the opening. The soldier, who had seen everything, waited just long enough, then put on his special cape and climbed down behind the youngest princess. But on the stairs, he stepped on the hem of her dress, and she said, frightened, "What's that? Who's holding my dress?" "Don't be ridiculous," said the eldest. "You must have just snagged it on a nail." They went all the way down to the bottom until they stood in the midst of a magnificent tree-lined path. All the leaves were made of pure silver and were shimmering and glinting. The soldier thought, "I should take a piece back with me to show the king." So he snapped off a branch, and a loud crack shot through the wood. Again, the youngest sister cried out, "Something's not right. Didn't you all hear that noise?" But the eldest sister merely said, "That's just a welcome salute from our princes, whose wait will soon be over." They then came to another boulevard of trees with leaves of gold, and then at last to another where the leaves were all brilliant diamonds. He broke off a branch from each kind of tree, making a loud crack each time. And each time the youngest sister jumped, but her eldest sister kept insisting that the noise was from a welcome salute. They kept walking and came to a large lake where 12 boats were moored. In each of them sat a handsome prince who had been waiting for one of the 12 princesses, and each prince took one princess on board his boat. The soldier crept onto the boat with the youngest sister, whose prince remarked, "I don't know why, but the boat is so much heavier today. I'm having to row with all my might just to get it moving." "How can that be?" answered the youngest sister. "It must be because of this warm weather that's also making me feel so hot." On the far side of the lake there was a beautiful castle lit up with candles, and merry music from drums and trumpets rang out. They rode the rest of the way and went inside, and each of the princes danced with his favorite princess. Our soldier danced along too, secretly and unseen, and whenever one of the sisters was handed a glass of wine, he drank it dry, so that by the time it reached her lips it was empty. The youngest was very disturbed by this, but the elder silenced her every complaint. They danced on until 3 o'clock in the morning, at which point their shoes were worn through and they had to stop. The princess rowed them back, and this time the soldier sat in the first boat with the eldest sister. The princesses said their goodbyes at the shore and promised to return the next night. When they reached the stairs, the soldier dashed out in front and straight up to his bed, where he resumed his snoring. As the tired 12 tiptoed slowly back into their rooms, they could all hear him and said, "This one won't do us any harm." They took off their evening gowns and put them away, lined up their shoes with holes in their soles under their beds, and lay down to sleep. In the morning, the soldier chose not to say one word, preferring instead to witness the unusual ritual again. And so he went along the second and third nights, when everything was as before, and each time the girls danced until their shoes fell apart. And on the third night, he brought a wine glass back with him as proof of what he had seen. When the hour had come for the soldier to answer to the king, he gathered up the 3 branches and the wine glass and went before him. The girls, meanwhile, stood behind their door and listened to what he had to say. The king put forward the question, "Where have my 12 daughters been dancing their shoes and patterns at night?" And the soldier answered, "With 12 princes in an underground castle," and then gave a full account of what he'd seen, revealing the evidence he brought back. The king summoned his daughters and asked them whether the soldier was telling the truth. They saw that their secret had been given away and that lying wasn't going to help, so they just admitted to everything. With that, the king asked which of his daughters the soldier wished to marry. He answered, "I'm not as young as I once was, and so I will choose your eldest." The very same day their wedding was held, and the soldier was promised the kingdom upon the king's death. But the other princes had to swear off seeing the remaining sisters for as many days as the number of nights they had danced with the 12 dancing princesses.